Hello there and welcome back to another review. So following on from sort of the 36 Chambers trilogy that I reviewed and Mad Monkey Kung Fu, I thought we'd carry on with some more gems from this Shaw Brothers Volume 2 box set released by Arrow Video. Try and get through them all eventually, but today we're going to be having a look at 5 Superfighters. Now this might actually be a quick review as there's not really a lot that happens in this movie in terms of plot. Basically random guy challenges a master and his students, they get beat, go off to train and beat the guy in the end. Now I know that is sort of the basis for a lot of kung fu movies, but here there's no like filler side plot or anything like that. It is literally, as I said, the film has, it has nothing much in the way of surprises, plot twists, subplots, or anything like that. If you look at this compared to sort of Invincible Armour that I reviewed previously, where that film had twists and turns happening all over the place, there was characters dropping in from thin air, that kind of thing. 5 Superfighters in comparison is much, much simpler, much easier to follow, and like I mentioned, there's not really an awful lot happens in the movie. Plot is very simple, very generic, but standard kung fu movie plot. So this is film when I'm reviewing it, if it does sound somewhat simple, that is because, to be honest, it is. The film really is. What is great about the movie, though, is the choreography, particularly the end fight, where it's really fast and fluid, and above all else, actually has some great speed to it, and it's worth watching the movie for the end fight alone. And I know a lot of movies are like that. This one in particular as well. It's worth staying tuned. It's worth hanging around until you get to the end, because there's a lot of fun to be had here and a lot of great choreography. So great speed and fluidity and everything like that, where they sort of team up to beat the challenger. And I think the antagonist in this, I think he's Fung. I want to say Fung, I could be wrong. Directed by Leung, who also directed Monkey Kung Fu that I reviewed ages and ages and ages ago, released by 88 Films. Not to be confused with Mad Monkey Kung Fu by Leung, but there's also Monkey Kung Fu directed by Leung. I think this was made in 1979, and this, you can tell, was sort of a movie that is made sort of in response to that Jackie Chan style. When you think of sort of the snake in the eagle's shadow, it's definitely got that kind of vibe and flavour running through it, this film. Shaw Brothers at this point were sort of no longer top dogs. Shaw Brothers obviously were the kings of the kung fu movie world, but they were slowly but surely being overtaken by sort of Raymond Chow and Golden Harvest, and like I say, with Yuen Wu Ping and seasonal films and things like that. Like other companies were all wanting a piece of the pie, and Golden Harvest was, as we know, in the 80s was very much dominant in terms of films and box office and things like that when it comes to Hong Kong entertainment. So unfortunately with this movie we have no big stars in the film. Not that ruins the movie, but we get no like sort of Shaw Brothers heavyweights here, and I think that has a lot to do with sort of why this film is sometimes forgotten about. I'm not saying that, excuse me, that stars always make a good movie, but you get none of there's no Gordon Liu, there's no Siu-hung, there's no Leung. There's loads of these people you come to associate with like Shaw Brothers movies. None of them are present here. It's largely sort of relatively unknowns or lesser sort of stars in terms of the cast here. It's not a bad kung fu movie, far from it. It's just there's nothing overly memorable about it. Even the poster to this movie, you can tell it's a complete rip-off of Five Shaolin Masters. It's a very obvious, blatant attempt to sort of copy that film poster. Which I've said made a few years earlier. Also, the villain in this has no motive whatsoever, other than he just sees himself as an expert and corrects bad kung fu. It's nothing personal. This guy, it's not like a personal grudge or a personal vendetta that he's got going on. He just doesn't like people that practice kung fu right, or that they practice it wrong, or their kung fu's not good enough. He just has a problem with that, and so he just sort of goes around correcting bad kung fu. I think in many ways you could call the film a Kung Fu B movie, if that makes sense. It's not like an A-star or a main feature worthy, but you do get some entertainment with 5 Superfighters nonetheless. There is still fun here. And as I mentioned, the end fight and choreography have a wonderful sense of rhythm to them, and probably some of the best fight scenes you'll see in a Shaw Brothers movie that probably wasn't choreographed by Leung. There's, I'd say, some fantastic fighting in this. So, getting into the film, this guy in black arrives in town and goes to a kung fu school and beats them all up as he calls himself an expert in correcting bad kung fu, as I say. And if somebody's in black, they're always more than often not going to be a bad dude. When a kung fu movie starts with a guy walking through town in black, you know he means business. It happens in a couple of the Jimmy Wang Yu vehicles. We never learn where he got his skill from and what made him arrogant like this. But to prove he is the villain, he has a cape as well going on. I mean, black is one thing, but if you've got a cape going on with it as well, then yeah, you're definitely up to causing trouble and no good. So this is all going on as the credits roll. After beating the people up, he randomly starts on 3 students and their teacher outside the school. As I say, the choreography is fast and fluid. You get flips, good punch combos, that kind of things. So the Master 1 and his students get their asses kicked and they return home all defeated. As I say, he's just started on them. He's just started beating these people up for no reason, right? He's sort of gone to this school. He's had a fight there. He's come out. He's seen this other master and his students. They're defeated. They've gone home basically with their tail between their legs. We're not good enough. We're no good. As I say, it's nothing personal. He's just started on these people because, as I say, he just has a problem with people that are not as good at kung fu as he is. So they get their asses kicked and they return home defeated. The students just decide to basically abandon their master in their hour of defeat, and like when their master sort of needs them most, they just decide to sort of abandon him. As he's been beaten and humiliated, even like he has to tend to his wounds himself. I'm not sure why they couldn't let him get better first. So the whole idea is they will go their separate ways and each find a teacher and return in 6 months to get revenge, though for some reason they all argue at first about who is going south. I mean, why couldn't they just tell their master, we're going to go off and find some teachers? I mean, I don't know, maybe it'd have been disrespectful to him or something. But yeah, they all decide to sort of go their ways. They know some kung fu, but they're not sort of experts or anything like that, and they just want to get revenge and after what happened. So one of them, Qian, wants to learn from this like tofu seller, Madame Fang, who he witnesses beating up some thugs. When he fights her at a house, watch her doing like forward splits but rolling at the same time. It's just insane what she does. She does like the splits, but she sort of rolls the same. It's hard to sort of explain. You have to watch the movie to know what I mean, but crazy. So Tien starts to work as her like handyman, has to use his feet to like grind beans. Idea is like basically she's teaching him leg work, right? He's going to be sort of a leg fighter. One of the students befriends this gambler played by, I want to say Lam Fei Wong. I could be wrong, but I think sometimes my memory gets a bit hazy in terms of some of the Shaw Brothers players, but I think it's Lan Fei Wong. I don't know if any of you out there are more up to speed on your Shaw Brothers veterans and cast members than I am. After sort of urinating on him, and they have like a fight in the market. Like I keep stressing, I can't fault the choreography in this film. Even though the plot is by the numbers, it is somewhat generic. The choreography is really, really, it's up there. You know, it really is. It just flows and works. And to be honest, there isn't actually enough of it in the movie. What you do get is great. But there just seems like, to me, there's like some fight scenes that they could have fit in, or they could have gone on longer, which is a shame. So he has a fight with this drunken cripple who he thinks owes him money, but he can't beat him, Han He. So after the initial reluctance, he begins to teach him, which to start involves trying to pick up sharp-pointed vessels with his hands. The other brother, who after trying to steal some fish, watches this fisherman practice kung fu. He challenges him, and the guy beats him with his like fisherman's staff, as he calls it. I think he calls it his fisherman's pole or fisherman's staff or something along them lines. So he's sort of, that's what he's practicing, and he wants him to help him with his fishing and says the training will take 2 years. So their master Wan, who is now sort of better, runs into the guy in black again at a tea house and loses again. So not only has this guy been beat once, he gets beat up again. Like he it's one thing to be humiliated and everything like that, but this happens twice to this guy. As he was carrying a case that on the front said student, I think he had a case that says student of 3rd generation of Tong Bai school or something like that. And to be fair, 2 of the staff intervene after the guy in black beats one, and it's nice to see for once people at a restaurant actually caring about their customers, which you don't usually see in a kung fu movie. Usually they're just like, just have a fight. I mean, going back to my previous review of Kickboxer, like when Van Damme has that fight in the bar, the owner's just like, carry on. I'm not worried. But here, the staff, which is, I've never seen, not many kung fu movies where that happens, where the staff intervene and they get involved and actually stick up for their customers. I say, just never seen that before. One wielding a tonfa and the other got like a blade going on. The guy in black assembles his bow staff out of nowhere, and after beating the two guys up, says to one, make sure we never meet again, right? He's like, do not let me come across you again, otherwise I will just beat you up. But again, it's nothing personal. Has no, like, 2 days ago, had never even met him before, or whatever it is, however long's passed at this point. But he's just, for whatever reason, he's got a beef with this guy. Now, bear in mind, this guy just beats people up. He doesn't kill them, right? All he does is beat them and show how inferior their kung fu is, right? So just remember that. All this guy's doing, he's not killing anyone, the guy in black. He's just basically, he doesn't, he injures people, yeah, but he doesn't do anything super barbaric. He just sort of shows them how bad their kung fu is. And, that they've learnt their lesson, right? I'm not as good as I should be. So Wan gets drunk and drowns his sorrows. Bearing in mind he has just got beat again, and in his head his students have just run off and abandoned him. Chiu-Sing, who plays Master Wan, has some serious fake sideburns going on as well. We'll mention, I think that's the guy's name, but if you look at him, he's got these great big sideburns, which they are a sight to behold. He shares a meal with Master Fu, who's like his neighbour, who has been looking after him. Back at the students, we see Tian picking up buckets of water with his feet after watching Madame Fang practice. When she thinks he is asleep, he goes to try it and sort of falls in the water. So of the 3 students, we have staff, feet and fists, right? They're all doing something different. They've all got their own thing going on in terms of what they're practicing and their training and the kung fu they're learning. Most notably, like, the fist guy's learning like crane technique. So Mr. Wan ends up wanting to fight Fu, who thinks he is drunk, and he's like, you're no better than a beast. No wonder why they left you, because he thinks his students have left him. He's been beaten up, he's been ridiculed, he's been bullied. This bit, like, his neighbour, like one of his friends who's been helping him with dinner and things like that. So Wan pushes him like into a table. These two have like a nice little fight with sword versus stick, and quite literally the guy's using a stick. It is an actual stick. Ends up Wan was just playing. He was just messing around and was just trying to get a rise out of him so he could sort of practice. Why couldn't have just told him that anyway? Just like, do you mind if we train a little bit? No, he has to sort of say all these nasty things, shove him into a table, and just so he can sort of practice his kung fu. It is such a shame with this film they didn't focus more on the training of each fighter. We do get some training, but I don't think you get as much training as you should have done. This very well could have been a really awesome training movie. It's sort of glanced over. It doesn't really go too in depth with that. The guy doing the fisherman's staff, we don't see much training at all. Like, we could have had a really good training movie here, like I say, with 3 different techniques, and unfortunately the film misses out somewhat on that opportunity. So Chiang gets told by Madame Fang to go and deliver some eggs to her blind father-in-law who lives next door. They have a little fun bout with him trying to get the egg off the old man, which just reminds me of Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, when, if you remember, when Chen Fu is trying to grab the rice bowl from Yuen-Jun, and it's sort of like that's the kind of thing they got going here. Like here, when I say this channel, sort of Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, Drunken Master, when you watch this film, you can quite easily see they're taking that as not like a sort of a blueprint, but a little bit of a template there to what they could do here. So Miss Fang has the deadly kick from the Yang family, which her father-in-law taught her. So to get her to teach him, right, this guy, get Miss Fang to teach him, what does he do? Right, does he ask her? Does he, like, beg her, like, please teach me? What does he do? Basically, he crashes into her place, attacks her, and says he's going to kill and rape her. This is his whole method for wanting to become Just when you thought you'd seen everything on how these students in these movies try and get a teacher, you see something like this. So the guy learning crane meets the 9th drunken immortal sitting at Han He's tables. Apparently his teacher has been arrested. Han He then returns and gets his student to beat this guy up using his newly learnt crane skill, as Han He invited him, was all part of the training. Again, nice little idea, but it doesn't really go anywhere. You don't say, oh, I love that training, or the sequence, or I love that training bit there, or that sequence there. There's little things that happen, but there's not really, quote unquote, like training as such. You do get, like I say, it's glanced over is all I can say. As I say, the movie would have really benefited from some unique training scenes that could have really added fun, but unfortunately we don't see that. So Fu, the guy learning fisherman's staff, wants to leave as 6 months is nearly up, though his training is nowhere near complete. His teacher doesn't want to let him go because, like, you know, it's like the training's not complete. It's like you can leave, but fight your way. He says you can leave, but fight your way out with the bow staff. Great lighting and set design on this part of the movie too. It's meant to be down by the docks, but you can't hear the ocean. but there's some really cool lighting going on with the sets. But it does look really cool with the sort of the sun setting as well and the way it's lit. And if you watch that moment of the movie, it's quite a cool set. If you recall, I like the set. There's loads of Shaw Brothers movies when the sets really do look amazingly good. At the end, near the end of Dirty Ho, there's some great stuff. Legendary Weapons of China has some great sets as well. So the three students return on their master's birthday, and all is dismissive for them, and rightly so. They take him out for a drink and invite the cloak kung fu expert along for a challenge. Not sure how they got hold of him at this point, but never mind. RG goes first with Crane, then Tien with his deadly kicks, who does some amazing footwork here. And I say, well, the SM fight, stay tuned with this movie till the end fight, because you really do, like I said at the start review, get some fantastic stuff here. Love how they all start getting beat and Wan just starts, their master's just drinking at the table. So the idea is they all team up and it's a great end fight. It really is. It could have gone on for much longer, and you can tell they are all really skilled performers, the people here. I think actually our three here were largely stuntmen and extras by default. I don't think they were sort of leading men as such. I think they were obviously involved in the industry, but I think they were almost more background players, more stuntmen rather than leading men. And you know it's serious when our cloak guy throws his cape off and brings out his spear, and what a spear fight we get at the end of this movie. Intricate is the word I would use, not to mention, as I say earlier, fast and super inventive. After the three students all get beat, Master One has to try and fight him with his like drunken sword technique. So basically they overpower the guy and kill him, right? Did they really have to kill the guy? I mean, it's a great end fight. He didn't cripple you, he didn't kill anyone, he didn't rape anyone, he just beat you because he was better, and they actually killed the guy. Mr. Wan and his students, murder this guy at broad daylight in this restaurant. I found it quite harsh they killed him. I didn't think that was necessary. It's very different. If you think of something like compared to that, to sort of Heroes of the East, where the idea was from Leung, where the idea was about showing respect to another fighter. Here the guy just gets murdered in, like I say, broad daylight, and they sort of laugh as he can't pay his bill. You know, and they're like, well, justice has been served, you know. So it's a very, I thought it was a bit weird they'd done that. I thought, just beat the guy. That's all you got to do. You don't have to actually kill him. But it's a really good end fight. As I say, footwork, we get spear work, drunken sword, we get everything going on at the end. So whilst entertaining and a good solid filler, this is not what I would call a prime classic must-see kung fu movie. It's one of these films that you could watch if you just wanted something to see, something to fill the time. It's not a must, but it's still one worth checking out, and it's worthy of your time. It's just a shame we didn't get more training, and the plot is about as basic as you could ever possibly get in a kung fu movie. I mean, this, like I mentioned, compare it with Invisible Armour, and it makes Invisible Armour look like something from Christopher Nolan or something like that, because the amount of plot twists and turns and things going on in that is insane. But here, very simple, not classic, but still a lot to enjoy, and just a really, really awesome end fight. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger, or you will miss all that heavenly glory.